and welcome back to the podcast.
To the podcast.
Today is a very special one as we have a dear soul sister, Emma Marshall, who is joining. And yeah, I'm so stoked that we finally have the opportunity to drop into this dope setup and just share our journey of sacred sisterhood and just vibe. Share the vibes with everybody because, yeah, this goes so deep and there's so much deep, deep, deep love shared between both of us. And yeah, I'm so happy that you're here.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a journey.
It's been a journey.
I think that human beings, especially women, could benefit from hearing the nuances of what it takes to be in the divine union of friendship and in the sacred sisterhood dynamic, because there's a lot of powers that be that separate women and turn women into comparisons and competition and lots of things that aren't unconditionally loving. So I feel like we're a good testament to what's possible.
Yeah, I agree.
You want to start?
Yeah. Wow. So the topic, sacred sisterhood, what it is, what the journey is. I mean, it's unique and individual for everybody, but I feel that commonly amongst society, sisterhood and just the relationship between women is so rooted in separation and jealousy and comparison, and that just creates so much pain and suffering between the individual and also the collective. And I really feel that our story and our journey is such a beautiful, profound example of the sacred sisterhood journey and overcoming the wound and working through it and practicing conscious communication with one another. So yeah, let's go into our journey. So we met, 2 years ago?
Just about, we're approaching 2 years.
Yeah. So you came here through another dear sister, Jasanya, and the first time I saw you was on social media. And Jasanya was like, wow, Emma's coming to Vinal, you're going to love her. You guys both love holistic health. I think you'll vibe so much. And the first time we saw each other was walking on the beach, and it was such a beautiful moment. I think you were picking up trash, and I was just walking down the beach, minding my own business, and I saw you, and I was like, wow, this must be Emma. She's so beautiful, and I can't wait to drop in and connect and be friends. And from that moment, that was the opening of the flower of such a long journey. Now that I'm speaking about it, I'm like, wow, where do I even begin? Because there's so many layers to this. But I guess I'll start off by just, not comparing, but talking about me and the way that I am, and then you can talk about you. But in that moment in time and just my personality, I feel like I was always super quiet and chill, didn't talk much. I was more submissive and was just aware of what was going on, but didn't really partake maybe. Whereas you can say you're the way you are.
Well, I'm definitely an energy, and I've always been very loud and very, big, and I take up space, and it's part of my mission now to really support women in taking up space, because it's so empowering to realize we can, but there's obviously a shadow side to everything. And at that point in time, I was starting to wake up slowly. I'd had my spiritual awakening, but that doesn't really mean much in terms of embodying, any of it. So I was big and I was loud, and I definitely had a bubble around me that kind of blocked me from seeing if my bigness and loudness was appropriate, for lack of a better word, because obviously there's a time and place for everything, and to have awareness of people around you and how they feel and how they experience energy is super important. So yeah, I would say we definitely had clashing energies
Yeah.
because we weren't like, neither of us were fully in our power to like own the opposing energies,
Yeah.
because they actually mesh really beautifully when in balance. But when out of balance, they can be, yeah, I mean, just difficult and nuanced like most relationships are.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like we've just been such divine mirrors and have just been through so many triggers together of just like reflecting parts of ourselves back. Like your loudness used to trigger me because I couldn't speak up and communicate that you were triggering me or that there was something that I was feeling and that was internalized within myself, which made me feel suppressed and just like angry inside at you, but it wasn't your fault. It was just my lack of communication.
Yeah, and on my end, I mean, I've like attracted this energy into my life with multiple best friends, and it's been really really interesting to witness like why I was calling that in and also the lesson I needed to learn from it. But the feeling of like needing to walk on eggshells because of passive energy,
Yeah.
where like I am very receptive now, and even then I think much more so than previously in life. I'm super receptive to hearing what someone thinks about me and, you know, analyzing, okay, where am I in the wrong? Where can I do better? As someone who used to be super defensive when I was younger, like I feel like overarchingly, and we have our moments, we're human, but overarchingly, I am very open to receiving feedback and trying to better myself based on said feedback. So I've always, yeah, it's always been triggering for me to be around people who go the passive route, where I'm like, just tell me what's up and then I can fix what's up, rather than me needing to just also suppress myself because I can't tell if I'm going to hurt your feelings or if you're going to be angry, or, and not just with you, but like generally,
totally.
like you can't tell what someone's feeling unless they tell you. But when you have a throat chakra block, like that's your wound where it feels near impossible to be able to just say what you want to say.
Yeah.
So it was like our shadows were clashing.
Yeah, totally. And it is so interesting. Like the trauma that I have with that is that I had a lot of narcissistic people growing up in my life, and I couldn't communicate how I felt because I would just be shut down. And I think I was projecting that on you, that you were that way because you are really good at receiving feedback. And in my mind, that story was different. I was like, oh, I can't communicate. Like, I just have to like protect myself. And that was like my way of, protecting myself from being hurt, because I've been hurt by that like big energy that just like took up a lot of space, and there's nothing wrong with it. But in my mind, there was something wrong with it.
And that's totally valid. Like all of this stems from the things we've experienced in our childhood. And for you, it was that experience. And for me, it was abandonment. So being around someone, you in this case, that would like retreat away from me and then not tell me what I did wrong, I'd be like, okay, I'm feeling super abandoned and I don't know how to express it because I'm walking on eggshells. And you just needed space, which is totally valid. But neither of us are in like the right situation to express what we're feeling. So it just creates this wall and this divide instead of us coming back into an unconditionally loving place. And I feel like that was like the bulk of you not being able to speak and then me just being big. Also definitely like perfectionist. So coming off as controlling was a big thing for me. And I feel like I didn't give you a lot of grace to like step into your power in the beginning, because it was just easier for me. Like with Glow, for whoever doesn't know, we created a holistic health course together. That's honestly dope.
It is dope.
It's a dope course. But like we were so hype, and I think I'm just in like the positive side of this experience. I am definitely a natural leader and I like to get shit done, and I like to get shit done my way because I really trust myself in my ways. And I see a lot of beauty in that. And I think being in like more solo entrepreneurship, it's amazing for me. But when you're in like partnership with someone, which we were decidedly business partners, you have to give like 50-50 unless you've decided that it's not 50-50. And for me, it was just easy because I had just gone through like 10 business courses and I had all this information, and it wasn't bad or wrong that I like took initiative in that sense, but it was like you also had so much to offer, and it was like adding to the shadow that already existed of like you feeling suppressed because I don't feel like I gave you as much space to like flourish in your zone of genius as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I literally remember sitting at the desk trying to record the chorus, and I literally could not speak. I was like, and then it just made me like go into this hole of just like not loving myself, like literally like killing myself inside and like creating this intense suffering because I just couldn't speak. And yeah, I just felt unsafe in my body because of like past traumas and experiences.
Yeah. And I feel like I was more of like a tough love at that time, which also has a time and place, but like you just needed to be like compassionately held. And I was like, just do it.
I know.
Because for me, that's how I get this shit done. Like, and everyone's different. So obviously it's like, can you have like OG compassion to the point where you're like putting yourself in their shoes and witnessing, okay, I'm just like tough love in that case. Like, just fucking do it, Emma. Like, get out of your way, which is valid for people who take criticism that way or, you know, feedback that way. But for you, like you were literally experiencing a deep inner child wound.
Yeah. I thought you hated me and I thought you were being mean to me. I was like, why is she being so mean to me? Like, I can't even speak. Like, girl, I just want softness and like love.
Which is so crazy because we just didn't communicate. But for me, that was like the most loving thing I was doing for you was like, I know you can do it. It's so silly that you're not doing it. Like me being like a tough cookie on you was like me. It was just me acknowledging in my head, like, obviously you can do this. Like, you're literally just in your head, like get out of your head. So it wasn't harmful intentionally in any capacity. Like, if anything, it was because I loved you so much and was just like, I know you, like I've seen you on TikTok. I see how you create, like you're powerful, just fucking do it.
Yeah.
But that was not how you needed to be received in that moment. So I think also like learning how to love someone and how to support someone. Like, everyone needs to be supported and loved in different ways. So I think it also just took us some time to learn how to love each other and some time for you to trust that I was like a safe space for you to be yourself. Because I've definitely like had my fair share of things that I've done wrong in this dynamic or been a little selfish or just in my own world or, you know, whatever. We can get into all that more. But there has never been a moment besides maybe Portugal when I was resenting you. Besides that, there's literally never been a moment where I haven't loved you unconditionally. And like just been stupidly in my own head and unaware, which is a different journey, but like never anything to do with you. And it was always so easy for Taylor to be like, okay, Emma, like this is what you're doing and this is what Claudia's doing and it's going to be fine.
Wow. Taylor's role in all of this, thank God.
Yeah, literally.
For the divine masculine role that was just like the mediator and just like pointing and just like bringing awareness to us. And I feel like that was such a beautiful expansion of awareness, opportunity. And like we took the opportunity. We grew so much through this. And through like Taylor being the mediator and like seeing both of us so clearly when we didn't necessarily see each other fully in that moment or understand each other in that way. Yeah,
and he also recognized his role with each of us as like separate things, but loved us both so unconditionally. Yeah. Like the love, the pureness of the love was just like the same. Yeah. And then it was also like partner, best friend. There's obviously a difference here. And I fucking love you both. And we're family. And it's crazy that you guys don't love each other as much as or like aren't actively loving each other as much as I love both of you and you both love me, because the like triangle was deeply unconditional and ours just had like a little bit of a wall.
Yeah, there's like a little bit of a taint.
Yeah.
The glasses weren't fully clear.
No. And I think, the whole year of like, I guess 2022 into 2023 where you left was like, I feel like the first moment where we had like a big, like, fuck, some things need to change here and we need to like see each other. Yeah. And I feel like since then we've just been navigating how to see each other and realizing, honestly, I think it was like being in different company and realizing like the quality of a real friend and witnessing other dynamics and, sometimes you have to like, what's the phrase? Like you don't know what you got till it's gone.
Yeah.
So like when you're not around somebody for so long or you're on like a break, we've definitely had some friendship breaks. You realize like, okay, we've been through some shit and like maybe it was rocky at some points, but like the container was so pure and safe and beautiful, and like you have to cherish that because it doesn't always come around that frequently, and there's only so many people, less than a handful of women on this planet, less than a handful of women on this planet who I've been able to go to the depths that I have with you. And it's like, we don't have infinite time in this mortal form. We have obviously some things going on beyond that, but in this vessel as these human species, like this is what we have and we don't have forever. And if you're going to find something that pure, like obviously our souls chose each other in some way, you got to put in the work for that, because then you find so much that's so much less deep, so much more shallow, so much less like sacred. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, I probably should focus on, that which is most important, which is stuff like this.
And it's wild because like we could have just separated and been like, nah, fuck that, I'm not going back. But we recognize those qualities within each other, whether it was fully conscious or not at the time. But I feel like our souls just like felt it. And our humans just had to do the work to like fully realize it, because both of us are so rooted in purity. Like that's the truth. And now it's like at this pure place where we can consciously communicate and relate and appreciate each other and our differences, and also the things that we both love and deeply value and cherish about life and one another.
Yeah. Super magical.
Super magical.
And it's just so crazy. Like, I feel like I've been bringing this up a lot. Like, we've just come to a point where, like attracts like, and I don't like saying high vibration and low vibration, generally speaking, because I feel like new age spirituality has like tainted it. But if you're talking about like waves, like literal vibrations, vibrational waves in music and in sound, like vibrations are in resonance or dissonance. Like they either attract towards each other or repel away from each other. Yeah. And obviously we are energetic, we are vibration, we are frequency. So we are literally resonating at a certain frequency. And once again, like attracts like. So you are either going to resonate with people, with situations, with substances, with certain foods, with life experiences, or you're going to be in dissonance with those things and you're not going to resonate. It's going to repel you. It's going to gross you out. Like some people really, really enjoy alcohol. And then I feel like a typical thing of like a spiritual awakening is they realize that alcohol brings them down instead of bringing them up. And nothing wrong with drinking. Yeah. We had a good glass of wine last night. But typically speaking, like for most of my teenage and young adult years, I was binge drinking and I loved it, or I thought I loved it. I had so much fun, or convinced myself I was having so much fun. And then now I have 2 drinks and I'm hungover the next day. Yeah. And I'm out of my body and my eyes are unfocused and I'm looking everywhere and I'm like, meh. So I just don't resonate with alcohol anymore. Yeah. And yeah, that's the case with friendship as well. Like you resonate with what you resonate with. And as I've been doing the work and as we've been doing the work, I know both of us for the most part have been really blessed with conscious women in our lives, like witnessing conscious women, maybe not, in our day-to-day interaction all the time, but with the social media we've built, the community, like we have access to really conscious women. So in my reality, sometimes I forget that the sisterhood wound is still fucking brutally alive. Oof, yeah. Because in my world, it's not a thing. Yeah. I do not see it. Yeah, moments of comparison, they exist. Moments of jealousy, they exist. But my overarching state is unconditionally loving. But then I think back to like high school. Oof. So brutal. College. Like so brutal. Every girl fucking hated me. Oh my God. And not to say it wasn't fully deserved, in the sense that like I was doing stupid things and seeking validation from men and acting in not so kind ways. But if they had taken a moment to try and see me, which who has the consciousness for that in high school?
I mean, no one even sees themselves.
Right.
How could they see another?
Right. But in theory, if they had done the work to see themselves, or we had been raised in a society where parents taught their children how to see themselves, so we didn't have to do the work when we got into our 20s. If we were just in a society that supported sacred sisterhood, any woman who saw me like wanting validation from a guy or whatever would see, oh, this has nothing to do with me. This has nothing to do with the guy. This has everything to do with this poor girl who has low self-worth, who is struggling to love herself, who is seeking validation in any way she can receive it. Doesn't matter if that person has a girlfriend. Doesn't matter if that person is literally the worst. It's all about me in that situation. It's never about harming another, but we're not raised in a society like that. So all you see is a slut or a homewrecker or a whore. And suddenly the women are pinned against each other. And typically the man never got in trouble for anything. And that's just one example.
Yeah.
But I feel like the overarching theme is super strong in society, where it's always the woman's fault.
Yeah. So deep.
Yeah.
So deep.
And coming to a place where that doesn't exist in reality for me anymore, like 9.9 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
Such a blessing.
Yeah. It's such a blessing to be surrounded by conscious human beings.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. It's like, wow, when I go home sometimes to New Jersey, like I witness it. If I hang out with old friends or if I'm in an old group, I see it. I'm like, whoa, this is so intense. And I pray for you all because, the suffering.
Yeah.
It's like unconscious suffering.
Yeah. I went out with a few of my high school friends a few weeks ago and I adore them. Like they're the best. But I was just like witnessing interactions and how they talk to people and how like it was just so funny to me because I was like, you could see the separation, even though they're happy and they're amazing and I adore them and they'll be my family for life.
Yeah.
I was just like, this whole space doesn't, and it wasn't just with them. It was just like the club we went to, like the vibes, everything about it. I was like, this just doesn't feel like an unconditionally loving space. And, you know, concerts, festivals, I feel like a lot of the times they can be really unconditionally loving spaces. But then you just get the like hot-headed macho man who like wants to fight. And like, wow, watching the dynamics of people who like turn to physical aggression or like pouring a drink on someone, or even at the festival the other day, a girl like smashed my foot with her boot. And I feel like I had deja vu. Like I know this happened to me last year here specifically.
I think it did. I remember this.
I think it did. Someone smashed my foot and then I was like, ow. But I wasn't even saying it to be rude. I was just like, my foot was just smashed. Like, ow. It hurt. And then she looked at me and was like, and then walked away. And I was like, okay.
All right.
Like, that's fine. I guess I'll just deal with my smashed toes by myself. And maybe she just didn't have the awareness. Like maybe she didn't know that she smashed my foot and she just thought I was yelling ow. I don't know. Obviously, I like to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. But I was just like, if I had any awareness that I stepped on someone's toes, I would literally go like give them a hug and like make sure they were okay. And not everyone is in such a loving place to want to support other humans in that way.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. And I think just with the collective in society, it's just a lack of awareness. I mean, like 2 years ago, I was completely unaware that my actions were actually doing harm to like you in this situation. And it's just so beautiful that we can be these mirrors for one another and also like share this and our journey with it.
Mm.
And like for me, I was anxious avoidant. You are anxious attached. So like what a combination, you know?
Yeah. And it's so crazy that you bring that up because I've had this thought of like, what's the word? I think I like gaslighted myself for a while because you were going through a lot and I was triggering you a lot. And I was like, I've done this a lot in my life where I've just convinced myself that I was the only one doing something wrong. Where like it was one-sided and I was the problem and I was just hurting you and I was not being a good friend or I wasn't being conscious. And I think that's why I resented you so much for like context, we took a friendship break last year. Like when I left in June, we just decided to take space, and I think we took space for like 7 months or like 6 months.
That was lengthy.
Yeah, and you went to Portugal and stepped into a new group of sisters, and I was at home. And I think it was the first time that I had the awareness of like, oh fuck, like Claudia really hurt me too. Like I definitely have to take ownership for my side of things, but like it wasn't just one-sided.
Yeah.
And for this whole time, I always do that. I like convince myself I'm the only person who's ever done anything wrong. Like that's what our ego does. It loves to like isolate us and make us feel alone. So tough.
So tough.
So I convinced myself that I was like, some points, this bad person, which obviously isn't true, but I was doing my best.
Yeah, of course.
For so long, I was like, oh, like Claudia needs space from me because I did this, because me, making myself so wrong. And again, while I needed to take ownership for a lot of things, it was both of us hurting each other. And yeah, we didn't get to communicate that. And I didn't really get to express how it all made me feel because I really just wanted to honor what you were going through in that time.
Yeah.
Because you were more like expressive about it and vocal about that you were going through some stuff. And then when Portugal came around and it like hit me, I was like, what the fuck? Like I'm mad. Like I'm pissed.
Yeah.
And I don't really get pissed. Like that's like a rare, but I literally was like, fuck this. I was like, she has new friends. Like what even was the last year of my life? I was like questioning everything. And then, yeah, eventually you just realize it's all love.
Yeah. And we needed space because like
Yeah.
we couldn't have come to these realizations without it. I mean, like I remember being here in Vanau before going home and like parting ways also. And we were supposed to go to yoga teacher training, which didn't even work out. Like we literally got on the plane to go and just got turned
You
around.
did.
I
didn't get on the plane.
Yeah.
Yellow fever vaccine.
Yeah, what? Okay. Wait, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought.
When we were parting ways from Panama that we needed space. Something was happening in Vanau.
Yeah. I was just like boiling inside. There was so much going on, like within my own life. Like it was our friendship and like so many other things. I was like, holy fucking shit. I just need to breathe and just like be in solitude. And like, even if I wanted to, I feel like I'm not in a space to communicate to you like what I'm feeling and even hold space for you to hear your side of things because I just literally did not have space in my nervous system. And I felt like I was breaking down and just, dying.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like I put a lot of blame on myself at that time period. Like I was doing so much wrong, but like also it was literally just your journey that you needed to go on. And like I was a reflection of that, but like you needed solitude from like the world and you needed to like take care of you generally. And I was just also like the person who was there all the time. So I feel like I put a lot of blame on myself. And like, again, obviously like there were unique situations that we both did things, but like overarchingly, you needed to like go figure your life out for you. And I also, maybe less aware of this at the time, like needed to be independent.
Yeah.
Like we needed to be our own people. And it was easy to like depend on each other. Even if you were being avoidant, it was still like comfortable to just like do everything together. And like, you know, even though Glow was amazing, it was kind of like this thing that was keeping us from navigating our own dharma and our own service.
We were trying to grow like this, but at a certain point we couldn't. So we had to just like go on our individual journeys and grow.
Yeah.
And I honestly didn't know if we'd ever be able to be friends again. But yeah.
I fully surrendered.
Yeah.
I was like, this might be it.
It's like whatever's meant to be will be. I'm not attached to any outcome or anything. But yeah, 7 months later, I was like, wow, like I need to see Emma and just talk and like, yeah. And it was so beautiful. And I literally cried when I saw you. It was like, oh my fucking God, I love you so much.
In the city?
Yeah, in the city.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
I feel like
What
in that
was
moment,
this?
I was like
Oh my God.
so excited to see you. And also was like, is this real? I feel like I had like a slight guard on my heart because I was like, I don't know if I could like be abandoned by this girl again. Like it's just going to be really sad.
Yeah.
And then we spent the day and I was like, wait, this was so sweet and special. And for me, I just came to a place where I was like, if you had to go through that process again and end our friendship, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
Like it would suck and I'd be sad, but like that was the only way I could get out the other end of this with like my heart fully open and my center really balanced was like, I have to fully trust that no matter what is happening, it's for my highest timeline. And I feel like you are the person who allowed me to heal that in friendship. I can be like fully honest that in romantic partnership, I have not fully healed that yet. Like anxious attachment is more prevalent. And yeah, I trust that I will heal that in this lifetime, but it's still there and present for me. But in friendship, I'm like, literally what's meant to be will be, who's meant to be there will be there. And I can love you just as unconditionally from afar as up close. And it is my hope that our children will get to be best friends someday and that we'll get to do life together. And I believe we will. Like, I think the storm has passed, but I fully surrender to like with you or anyone, you know, I'm not in control of much except for how I respond to what life throws my way. So as long as it's in an aligned, beautiful, loving container, like I fully am open to any dynamics and how they shift and unfold, because that's how I liberate myself. That's how we liberate ourselves.
Totally.
It's by fully trusting that what's meant to happen will happen.
Amen. Yeah, I feel like softness is a big thing. And I feel like a big thing that I'm taking away from just the journey that we've been on is to like remain soft with the other person. Even if I'm receiving tough love, like not to like close and stop giving that like, I don't know, openness and softness and expressing that softness that I feel so deeply within me and navigating the world in that way.
Yeah, I think that's an important one and something that...
And compassion.
Yeah. I'll never forget at Envision last year when Ray just like pulled me aside out of nowhere and was like, you can take your walls down, you know, like you're safe. And I started bawling my eyes out because I've literally built like such a protective fucking castle around me because it was so unsafe in my childhood to be myself. And from all angles, I was just like bullied and not seen and left out and abandoned. And I was just a little fucking kid and was so isolated that I literally created a world in my head that was safe. And it's why I was, you know, labeled as not such a good listener for a long time and like selfish and aloof and in my own world, because I literally was in my own world because it was the only safe place.
Wow.
So I literally had a fortress around me of like protective mechanisms so people couldn't hurt me. And then I realized that the only person who can actually hurt me is myself.
Wow.
So
you saying that, it's such a parallel, but like such an opposite of me, because I feel like I built my own fortress around, but I was so avoidant and like I was so afraid to express myself and convinced myself that nobody liked me, that I was weird, that I couldn't have a true and genuine friendship. Although I did have like a few close friends that like I deeply connected with, but the general story and feeling that I had within myself was that I'm not loved, I'm not accepted. And that's the story that perpetuated of creating that wall of like, oh my God, everyone's seeing me in this way and I just can't.
It's so crazy what we build for ourselves, or like, I guess build for ourselves mixed with conditioning and mixed with a lot of traumatized parents who raised traumatized children. But like we were so little, and it's like one of my favorite things on the planet, watching like conscious moms raise their babies on the internet. Because I'm like, imagine being a regulated child. Imagine being a secure, deeply in love with self child, like a child who feels worthy of receiving love, who doesn't feel scarcity, who doesn't feel abandoned or anxious, like just a person.
And the light in the world that they are.
Yeah.
Because they
in
can
full
give that.
creativity.
They understand. And like if they see someone who isn't in their power, they can be that loving reflection for that person.
It's so amazing. And I feel like a word to whoever is listening to this, and obviously a word to us, is like, you need to have so much grace for the fact that you are literally a baby learning how to be an adult. Like, if you grew up in a childhood dynamic where you were traumatized in any way, where you had deeply low self-worth, where you're deep in scarcity, where you lacked self-love, where you were abandoned, where you were abused in any way, like stepping into adulthood right now, like you are a literal infant trying to figure it out, because not only are you stepping into a place where you have to be more sovereign and independent and figure out how to navigate a 3D world with money and stability and all of the above, but you're also probably just waking up to the fact in some capacity. Maybe you've been on the journey for a few years, but still, I feel like 18 years old, like you don't really get conscious before that. Like you don't have an opportunity to. You're in high school.
You're not really experiencing life.
Yeah. So I'd say like college or after high school, whatever route you take is like the first time you even have the ability to wake up, unless you're very rare. And most people don't get into that right away. So I'd say like early 20s, like you were like 19, 18, but that's rare. The average person, I'm sure, is like early to mid 20s, maybe less than average, but probably
I feel like late 20s is like
okay, yeah, maybe late
average.
20s, sure. But you
Who
know,
knows, but yeah.
point being is that not only are you now figuring out how to navigate life as a person who's not under your parents' care by law, but you're also maybe slightly starting to figure out that most of what you believe and most of how you feel and most of your thoughts are not you whatsoever. That you've been conditioned, that you've been programmed, your nervous system has been taught how to feel, how to think, how to act, how to view yourself. So then you need to go and figure out how to fucking change that to align with what you actually want for yourself while navigating the 3D world.
And also realizing that you're not those things, you know? Like, I'm not anxiously attached. Like, that's not who I am. I'm not anxiously avoidant. Like, no.
No, you're nothing.
You're nothing.
And you're everything.
And just like becoming unattached from those things and realizing that you are an infinite being. You are infinite love. That's the truth. Like, gives ease to the soul of like, wow, I can shift. I can change. Yeah. And these things don't define me.
I think it's so important. I've really been thinking about words a lot recently because I say a lot. Words. Spells. I literally say such dumb shit to myself sometimes, like, I'm fat. That one's funny.
I literally said I'm a chonk a few days ago.
And we say it like jokingly, but like, why are we perpetuating such nonsense? Like when I say, I have anxious attachment or I'm anxious. What the fuck does that mean? I am experiencing something.
Yeah, you are not that.
I'm experiencing something that I've labeled that then my mind has now perceived in a certain way that's either positively or negatively affecting me in some capacity. And then that dictates how I view myself, how the world views me, how I receive, how I give, so on and so forth. But what if I did not choose to use my words to label me or put me in a box that I'm absolutely not meant to be placed in?
Yeah. I think that comes with the realization that you're the creator of your reality too. Like, I'm creating my reality by using these words.
Yeah.
And shifting that to use words that are empowering for your self-image, for how you feel within, and also how you're perceived.
Yeah. I feel like that brings us back to the sisterhood wound, where it's literally just a story that we've made up that keeps us in victim mentality. Like, how easy to go online and compare yourself to another woman, and instead of using that comparison to fuel your magic, you use that comparison to shame someone else because it's easier to stay a victim. You know, if they're the problem, then you are, I guess, in control, perceived control of like who you are and how you're viewed.
Yeah.
But if you're the problem, then you have to actually do something about it. Like, I follow so many women who, I don't even know, what is comparison? It's so silly to me right now. But I follow plenty of women who probably make a lot more money than me, who are farther along in their business journey, who have more followers, who have traveled to more places, who have their partner or like whatever. And I could easily look at all of those women and be like, fuck, why don't I have 1 million followers on TikTok yet? Or like, why don't I have my beautiful farm with my beautiful babies? And why don't, like, where's my $50,000 music studio and like all the things that I want? But instead, when I see a woman who's potentially further along on the journey that I'm also striving towards, although like social media will fool you. You don't know what's you don't know what's going on. But this perceived idea that I have that someone's farther along than me, I use that as fuel because I know, as the creator of my reality, anything I see or feel or witness or dream is possible. It's not they did it, and because they did it, I can't. It's like they did it, permission slip. Obviously, if they did it, I can do it.
Yeah.
In my own way.
I feel like when you open social media, you can really like self-reflect on where you are based on how you feel when you scroll and you see different women's accounts that inspire you, and like how you're feeling is like a dictation of where you're at. So I feel like it's also such a beautiful mirror, social media, because based on how you're feeling when you're seeing other women that are potentially further ahead of their journey than you, that's like where the work is, because you see those aspects come up and you're like, oh shit, like I'm not fully healed with this.
And it's also like, can you do it with compassion? Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know how many women I've spoken to who I was like, damn, you used to really trigger me and now I fucking love you, or vice versa. So many women who end up being clients are like, you triggered the fuck out of me and then I realized I loved you.
Wow.
And it's like,
That's
yeah,
so beautiful.
because we're all reflections.
Mm-hmm.
You see something you love in me, it's really something you love in yourself.
Yeah.
You see something that triggers you in me,
Or that you reject.
or that you reject in me, you're just rejecting that in yourself.
Yeah.
So what a gift to have our bodies literally show us what's out of alignment and what's further in alignment.
Yeah. Wow. What a compass she is.
Yeah, she's so good.
We love her.
She's not fat.
No, no, she's definitely not
She's
fat.
beautiful.
Yeah. Something I also want to bring up is the three-way dynamic between you, Taylor, and I. And just, wow, the journey that's been.
Yeah.
Because like we said earlier, like obviously Taylor's my partner. We're in a divine union. Like you're my best friend and you're also Taylor's best friend. But wow, we had so much shit that we were working through. And you being best friends with Taylor sometimes would trigger me. And wow, I guess let's talk about the journey of when I went home for Christmas for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And my mom, so we were on a FaceTime call and things were all good. And you were with Taylor and I was like, cool. And like your head was on his shoulder. I wasn't thinking anything of it because I'm like, no.
I leaned my head on Taylor's shoulder so my face could be in the FaceTime camera.
Yeah. And like, I think nothing of it. But then my mom comes into my room and is like talking to me, whatever. And she sees the FaceTime. And I'm immediately feeling that she's feeling weird about what she's seeing on the FaceTime camera. And after she's like, why is Emma leaning on Taylor's shoulder? I'm like, because they're friends and they love each other and it's platonic love. And my mom did such a good job of convincing me that you're this like serpent woman that's like trying to take my man. And that fucked with me so hard because I was like isolated over there at home while you guys were here in like paradise, just like in love and like having a beautiful time. And just being in that field of separation just like expanded so deeply within myself that I convinced myself that you were like evil in this situation. And deep down I knew that wasn't true, but that's just the way the situation was. And like my mom kept perpetuating that story onto me. So I was like, wow, fuck this, fuck my life. I literally hate this and I can't wait to go back to Panama because I know this isn't true and we need to like work out whatever this is in person in real time because these stories that have built up just like are not true.
Wow. And it was so interesting from my perspective because that like is my wound from high school. Like I did that shit.
And I remember you told me that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did that multiple times and it was so harmless, like unintentionally, obviously very harmful, but intentionally, like literally just lost puppy child woman who would just take validation anywhere she could get it. And it was not like, let me like steal this girl's man. Like obviously not that, but first of all, we didn't even know what was going on. Taylor and I were literally just being best fucking friends. I've said this before. I've never once in our dynamic thought of Taylor as anything more than like my literal family member. Like not a second where I was like, we'd be good together. Like not even once. And it was literally just so like deeply unconditionally loving. And we didn't know what was going on with you because
Taylor's making a face.
Taylor, stop distracting us. Taylor and I were just vibing on life because we both didn't have any other friends. So obviously we're cooking dinner every night. Obviously we're going surfing, being Australian in the ocean, frolicking around like idiots in the best way, like just having so much fun. It was his birthday. We like threw a party.
Yeah.
And you didn't say a word. Obviously I didn't know what you were talking to Taylor about, but you didn't say a word to me about it.
I was
So-
dying.
Yeah.
Literally shriveling away like a raisin in my own hell.
Yeah, so there was one day where I like saw you on FaceTime and I was like, damn, your energy's off. But I didn't know it was like about me or Taylor. I just felt like, okay, you're in fucking hell at home, like typical, usual dynamic.
And I didn't want to talk to you guys because I knew that it just would not be
The same
like,
as doing it
the
in
same
person.
as doing it in person.
Yeah. So anyways, I went along it was like some of the most healing months of my life, just like so wholesome, so playful. And then, one time Taylor and I were sitting on the couch outside and he's like, oh, Claudia's calling me. And intuitively I was just like, something's weird, but I don't know. I'm just gonna like vibe. I was like, I feel safe. Like I really do. I trust, like, I know I haven't done anything wrong. Like truly from the bottom of my heart, like I've been so pure that like whatever's coming, I know is like the best thing for me, whatever it looks like. And then I've literally never at this point seen Taylor cry in my existence. Now, obviously I have, but at that point in time, I had never seen him cry. And he came out like 15 minutes later with like tears in his eyes and looking so distraught. Never seen mans look so distraught in my life. And he takes my hands and he breathes and he's like, Emma, things might be really bad, but I want you to know that I see you and I love you and you're safe. And I was like, literally, I believe you. I don't know what's going on. He was like, I can't tell you what. I was like, great. You can't tell me what? Awesome. Sure. And then I was like, literally, I trust you. Like, I literally love our friendship so much that I was like, I believe you when you say that to me. Because for me, Taylor was such a moral compass for so long. I was like, what Taylor says goes. Like, Taylor knows all. I was just like so impressed by like his way of thinking and like his, moral compass, I guess.
Correct me if I'm wrong. He's like the first male platonic love that you felt safe with.
Deeply. Like, I've had a few good male friendships, nothing like Taylor's. Like, yeah, this is like the most like divine masculine brother experience I've ever had in my life. And so him telling me I'm fine, and for me, it was like, if he thinks I did something wrong, I did something wrong, which also I shouldn't place so much value in someone else's opinion of me, but that was just how I felt at the time. With you, it was like, we've been through some shit, so like you might be a little more biased. For him, it was so neutral and unconditionally loving from the start, that like, or overarchingly from the start, that I was like, if he doesn't think I did something wrong, like I know I didn't do anything wrong. So like it was further validation. Yeah. And then, you came home and you wanted to banish me from the group, which was triggering as fuck.
New Year's. I did not want you at New Year's.
Yeah.
I was so triggered and just like distraught because I think it was a little over 3 weeks where I was home.
Yeah.
And like in the bottom of my heart, I knew that the relationship between you guys was pure and you didn't do anything wrong, but I was so fucking convinced about the story that was created that was just like perpetuated day after day.
Yeah,
that I just like could not do it. I was like, I cannot see you at New Year's. Like, I don't want to start the year in this energy of being in this because it's just like terrible and painful and just like so triggering.
Yeah. And then you came back and it was even harder for me because like being abandoned from like the group is such a trauma or like trigger for me, an old trauma. And like you had like confided in your brothers, which is totally fine. They're your family, but like they were coming for New Year's and bringing their significant others. And like there was a whole friend group. And for me, it was like, holy fuck, this whole group has like such a skewed perspective of me. And like, I don't know if I'm going to get the opportunity to like show people who I really am because they're going to already see me through a lens that's tainted.
And that felt so tough.
I was like,
I literally can't believe that.
Yeah. And it's totally fine. Like it was such a beautiful lesson. I hold zero feelings about it now. But at the time I was like, this is so fucking mean. Not at you, just like the situation. I was like, it's not your fault. Like it's everyone just dealing with what they're dealing with. But I was like, fuck, I feel so unwelcomed in this group. Like I have other friends. I'll do my own thing. It's fine. But also like that sucks. And I remember you came back and I wanted to talk to you. And I saw you guys going surfing and I was like, I'd really love to drop in. And you were like,
it was so terrible.
You were like, after New Year's. And I was like, why? Like, what do you mean? It's like 4 days away. We
Me
can
unable to communicate what I'm feeling.
like after New Year's, like that's gonna be in 2023. 2023. Like, let's do this in 2022, bro.
It was like a lifetime ago. Like lifetimes.
And then we ended up talking because Taylor was like, I'm calling in a meeting now.
Yeah. Oh my God, I was literally shitting my pants. I was so afraid. I was like, oh my God, I can't do it. Like I can't. I don't know. Like if I'll make it out. Like I don't know if I'll make it. And
the recording exists.
Oh my God, the recording exists. And you came over. I'm like sweating balls.
You're like screaming.
So anxious. Like literally my heart is beating out of my chest. And Taylor's like, all right, let's sit down. So we're just standing on the countertop or like around the countertop. And I have never struggled to speak as much as I did in this moment, like choking on my words, completely just unable to speak my truth. So feeling so just like suppressed and unsafe in my body.
Yeah.
Because again, like in this moment, I still perceived you as someone that can't receive the truth without like hating me.
I feel like that was the turning point after this conversation.
And my biggest fear was that you were just gonna hate me, and like I just like couldn't stand the thought of that. But by not speaking, it was just making that
so much worse.
So much worse.
And then you finally got your words out, and I literally was like, I love you.
Wow.
I was like, heard, I see you, I love you. Like, you could tell me anything and I would be here. Like, it was just so well received because I was like, this has been shit for me, like, for sure. And like, you're a human who just had some like real shit come up that felt super real. And even though it wasn't, like, that doesn't deny the fact that you were feeling it. And like, I love you and thank you for sharing. And it was like such a like loving, peaceful response that I think in that moment you were like, oh fuck, like, damn.
I was like, damn.
Like,
the story shifted completely.
Yeah, because you're just like, okay,
Holy
like
shit.
if I could express this, I could probably express anything, because that was like deep shit.
That was like one of my first like big throat chakra activations of my life.
Thank God, mate.
Thank God.
That fucking
Like,
needed to happen.
I know, like allowing myself to communicate and like feel safe in my body to communicate.
And so
That was, like,
crazy to realize you have that power. Feels so good to express. Like, I feel like for me, overarchingly, I've always been able to express myself. There's obviously certain dynamics where I need to muster up some courage, especially around confrontation. But yeah, like, to deny yourself the ability to just be who you are and share who you are it takes up so much energy. And all of that space could be then poured into like creation. And that's why, you know, people who like open their throat chakras start singing better and like literally sound better, because you're clearing out the gunk and making space for like pure creation to come through, whether it's words or songs or whatever.
Wow. Literally before this, I couldn't sing. I was so embarrassed to sing, could not do it, convinced myself I couldn't. And then like, I feel like after that moment and just like the progression of life after has been such a big expansion, and just like loving to sing and like finding my voice.
Yeah, you're a singer now.
Singing.
It's good shit.
Yeah. And now we harmonize.
And now
which
we
is so beautiful.
Now we harmonize.
Yeah. I love you.
I love you too.
Yeah.
It's a journey.
It's a journey. But yeah, coming back to a place of just unconditionally loving the other for who they are, and just like seeing the love and the purity in them is so special. Removing the stories, removing the smudged lens that is not of clarity.
Yeah.
Is super special.
Everyone's just doing their best.
Yeah.
And sometimes someone doing their best is not the right best for you to like welcome them into your space. And that's the beauty of boundaries, is that we don't need to tolerate everything. But when you vibrate on the same frequency as someone, typically it's worth it to, you know, do the work in whatever capacity that looks like to make it a safe space and to make it an unconditionally loving space, because there's so much magic that can come from those spaces. And you know right away if you're not vibrating with someone. But if you are and it's like strong, it's so worth it to like give the little bit of extra effort or a lot of bit of extra effort to move through the blocks and like heal the wounds, because what's left on the other side of that is like the most pure, loving, creative thing that ever exists. And that's where literally all of the magic of life comes from. Like, we're creatures of community.
Yeah.
We're genuinely not supposed to do this life alone.
And welcoming those triggers is so beautiful, because that just makes the relationship so much deeper, whether it be with a friendship or family or your partner.
Yeah. The first
Triggers.
podcast we just recorded, that you had a triggering moment and you just said it. And then
Yeah.
it was like amazing. We just fucking navigated it in 10 minutes. And then it
Totally.
just goes by so quickly when you talk about it, when you open
just
up
let
about it.
go.
Literally everything that's brought forth in truth and vulnerability can be moved through like this, like with such ease and such peace and such clarity, if you're just open.
Yeah.
You know, the second you block it, you create such density, and then you can feel it. And then there's like unspoken tension and discomfort and awkwardness. And it's literally like, this could have been resolved in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You just spoke about it. But you like it's literally perpetuating suffering to not be yourself and share yourself.
You coming back this time around and just like meeting each other as we are right now has been so special, because I'm just like reflecting on who I was and where our relationship was, and how much I've grown individually and how much we've grown separately and also together, and like where we're at now is so beautiful.
Yeah, we're literally different people, but we're also exactly the same.
Yeah.
Just more us.
Yeah, just more us, and like more aware and more conscious, better communicators.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I feel like, grateful.
Grateful. Amen. I feel complete.
Amen. I feel complete as well.
I'm getting sleepy.
Eyes closing.
Well, I love you so much. Maybe we do a prayer for women. Okay. My prayer is that all women everywhere can realize their oneness within, love themselves fully, so that separation between one woman and another ceases to exist, that they can see each other through a lens of compassion, softness, understanding, and genuine love for who they are, even if they don't fully resonate. Just to have compassion for another being as they are.
Amen. My prayer for women is that may we all recognize that we are each other's greatest support system and greatest allies, and that together we are the strongest force this world will ever know. We are genuinely the creators. So may all women remember the fullness of their creative essence. May all women remember the magic that courses through their fucking veins every moment of every day. And yeah, may we remember that we are stronger and more powerful and more beautiful together, and that the softness this world needs comes from us unconditionally loving one another.
Amen.
Amen.
So beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
May we rise together.
Yeah.